Thank you ever so much. Let's go back to our guests here in the studio and in Westminster then. Andrew RT Davies, there she is battling for a deal on Brexit. Is she fighting for the deal that you would welcome?
Well, ultimately, the Prime Minister is fighting for the best deal for the United Kingdom. There are many complexities around this stage of the negotiations because obviously it's coming to the business side of the negotiations. But let's not forget, 90% of the deal is concluded. It's just that final 10% that needs to be concluded. And the way the EU works is things are run to the wire. Now, we'd like to have been in a better place with progress made on the Irish question, shall we say, but that's been negotiated as we speak.
But let's be clear, she said in the Commons before going over to Brussels today that the so-called Chequers plan, James mentioned it there, is alive and kicking. Do you want it dead? Are you one of those who want to chuck Chequers? Well,
from my point of view, I campaigned for bringing our money, our laws and our sovereignty back to the United Kingdom. And I want us to see all those responsibilities back here in the United Kingdom, whether that be in the Assembly or whether that be in the Westminster Parliament.
So she's out in Brussels fighting for something you don't want?
Well, no, it's important now that the Prime Minister is allowed to conclude the deal that, as I said, 90% of that deal is concluded. What the remaining 10% will look like will be for us to make a judgment call.
Do you want the Chequers deal?
I want what I campaigned for, which is to bring back the sovereignty, laws and money to the land of the United Kingdom.
OK. Stephen Kinnock, let's bring you in. If it was Jeremy Corbyn out in Brussels tonight, it'd be very difficult to know what he'd be fighting for, wouldn't it?
Well, we have our 6 tests, which say clearly what we expect to get from Brexit. There is a problem with our position is we haven't set out how to get there. For the last 2 years, I've been saying that we should go into the European Economic Area, combine that with a form of customs union. It's the only solution to the Irish border question. It also gives us economic stability, business certainty, because at the moment, the entire business community is looking over the cliff edge and they are absolutely appalled by the total incompetence and chaos in terms of the way in which the government has conducted these negotiations.
You're well known for backing what you're calling the Norway model, but many would say, Theresa May doesn't want it, lots don't want it, that you'd end up being a rule taker rather than a rule maker.
Well, first of all, it's the only solution to the Northern Irish issue, as we are now discovering to our cost. Secondly, you actually come out of the political institutions of the European Union. You have the ability then to assert yourself through the EFTA court and through a range of different committees. You can suspend free movement of labour through Article 112 of the EEA agreement. I just think it's a tragedy that we haven't explored this option properly, but there is still time. And what's more, there's a cross-party majority for it. There is a clear majority, in my view, of Tory MPs and Labour MPs who want a sensible, pragmatic, bridge-building Brexit, as opposed to the total chaos and incompetence that we're seeing at the moment.
What do you make, Andrew RT Davies, of warnings that have come out of Airbus, Ford employing 2,000 people? This could impact Wales, and if it's a no deal, what would be the impact on Wales and on Welsh businesses?
The government is working to create the situation that we do not have a no-deal scenario, but if we do have a no-deal scenario, the preparations will be put in place. There is a mandate. It was the biggest democratic mandate that the British people had given to its government to undertake our withdrawal from the European Union. Now, would we have liked to have progressed the negotiations faster at a quicker pace? Yes, I would have liked to have seen those negotiations done at a quicker pace. But as I've said in my earlier remarks, 90% of the deal is agreed. It's the final 10%. And I take the point, it's a very complex 10%, but ultimately a deal can be concluded.
But even if she gets a deal out in Brussels one day, who knows, she's got to bring it back to Parliament, and then it's your colleagues, your fierce Brexiteers behind her, that potentially will bring it all crashing down anyway.
Well, what I think every member of Parliament who stood on a manifesto, and that goes for Stephen's party and the Conservative Party, they stood on a manifesto at the last general election to deliver Brexit. And it is important that that's the mandate that people sent them back to achieve.
Well, Stephen, on that point, will your party play politics? If and when she does come back with a deal, will you just play politics or put the national interest first?
We will vote for a deal if it's the right deal for our country. The challenge is that the Prime Minister is not going to be able to deliver something that unites her party. What she should be doing is showing some leadership, isolating the hard, extreme Brexiteers, recognising that we need a very close, full participation relationship with the single market. We need to stay in a customs union to protect our supply chains, to protect thousands and thousands of jobs across Wales. And so we will vote for a Brexit deal if it protects the jobs and the livelihoods of the people we were elected to represent. If it doesn't, then we cannot, in all good conscience, support a deal that will send our country over the cliff edge.
Andrew RT Davies, would Boris Johnson do a better job out in Brussels?
Well, Boris Johnson isn't the Prime Minister. Theresa May is the Prime Minister.
Would you like him to be Prime
Minister? And she is
Minister?
there negotiating. Theresa May is the Prime Minister.
Yeah, we know that, but would you prefer Boris Johnson?
Speculation about future leaders is not helpful at this stage. We have the Prime Minister working night and day to deliver a Brexit deal for this country.
Is she the right person, though? Because there is talk of leadership challenges, less so now since the conference, but there is. I mean, would he do a better, would he suit you better?
There is plenty of talk, yes, in the media. I do acknowledge that. But what our Prime Minister is doing is rolling up her sleeves, negotiating a deal for this country that's in the best interest of this country. It also should be in the best interest of Europe to have that deal. At the moment, there is a blockage in the system. We need to free that system up. But I go back to my point, 90% of the deal has been concluded, which can easily be overlooked. It's the final 10%, and I'm confident we will get there, as most European deals do, at the very last moment.
Andrew RT Davies and Stephen Kinnock, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, he's